Welcome to the Audaci-Tea, the podcast by women, for women, and anyone else who is brave enough to listen. Welcome. We want to give a special shout out, as we usually do, to our Tea VIPs. And this week we are shouting out Raw Honesty, love the username. We got Felipa Ramallo. And we have a brand new tea spiller as well. Her name is Crystal Qua. Let's give them all a warm audience. Thank you and welcome.
Welcome, guys.
Thanks for being here, y'all. We're so excited to be building this community. And as y'all know, we post a lot in there. We conversate a lot in there. And it's been just a wonderful place for us all to congregate so far and to really get into the nitty gritty on some things. But we have fun in there. We have fun. So please come on over and join. You don't have to be a paying member. You can always join for free. So that's the good news. And this week, we're talking about decentering marriage, a very big subject. We have a lot of input for y'all. But first, let's get to our tea.
The only thing I was thinking about was Donald Trump was talking about concepts of releasing a check, 20% to the American people for the money that they saved.
You're not going to see a dime of that. It's not going to come back.
It's not. I just thought it was funny because it was just a concept. The way he said it was, there's even concepts of it's in the works, or not in the works. There's talks.
Concepts of a plan.
There's talks about, releasing 20% of the money because what did he say? The savings are wonderful or magnificent. I can't remember the word he used.
Sounds
basically
like a Walmart
saying that they found so much money. Yeah, it was kind of funny. Yeah.
And to anyone who's excited about that, I just want to remind you that your personal taxes, all that you're paying for all of these, liberal democratic policies, I will just have you know, the check that's going to come back to you is going to be like 75 cents, first of all.
Stop.
First of all, and even if it's $200, let me just tell you, the next medical bill you get hit with because you don't have Obamacare that you voted against is going to wipe that 75 cents clean out of your pocket. Okay. The next time that your car gets, effed up because you're driving on a bunch of potholes, because they very efficiently cut that kind of funding. The next time that a bridge collapses, the next time that a plane crashes, that money that you're going to get back as a rebate is going to be wiped clean from your pocket.
Yep.
That's the point. That's the point. So before you all start celebrating something that hasn't even happened, let's just be very, very real about what it actually means. Because you're not paying that much in taxes for these social services, first of all.
It's to prepare you for what's going to come next if they do cut us a check. And let's say it's another $2,000 check. It's because that they were preparing to cut out Medicare, Medicaid, and this was like a severance. Like, oh, here you go. The rest is on you now. We'll cover $2,000.
Exactly.
Did y'all also hear about people that were celebrating the federal workers losing their jobs?
Sickening.
It's like
sad because some of them didn't vote for this.
You know how I feel, honestly, if I'm being honest, I only feel sorry for the ones that didn't vote for this.
Yeah, no, of course.
The rest of them, if they voted for Trump, from my perspective, this is what you asked for. I'm not celebrating it at all because anybody can lose their job. None of us are safe.
This was all a part of Project 2025's plan.
It was.
You had a year and a half to read that book, and in it was going to tell you all these programs they were going to cut. So if you were a federal worker and you saw your program listed in this book, you had a year and a half to read that and vote accordingly. And now you want us to feel sorry for you that the leopards ate your face?
Yep. And they chose not to, and this is the consequence. And also, too, with the Department of Education, basically the gist of that is that they're trying to privatize all the schools or whatever. Y'all gonna have to pay out of pocket, basically, and find a way to pay for y'all's kids' education.
Yeah. Well, next thing you know, they're gonna defund the fire department, too, and you're just gonna have to call a private company, and get a quote when your house is on fire.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Stop.
Yep.
It's just the way you said it.
If laissez-faire economics had their way, that's exactly what they would have done, which is what Republicans run. Republicans' whole economic philosophy is what's called laissez-faire capitalism. And that's just like everyone pays into their own thing and there's absolutely zero regulation of anything ever whatsoever. So like poison in your food and independently owned fire stations and like police stations, like paying for your own security, your own fire, your own everything. And so I think that's exactly what they're trying to do.
That's exactly what they're trying to do. They're literally trying to overthrow the entire Constitution. Everything that they're doing, it's directly affecting some part of the Constitution. So basically,
Trump calling himself king, running for a third term, all of those things
all
are
of that stuff, all of it is. And everything he's doing is, and if he succeeds, then the Constitution is basically no more valuable than a wet sheet of paper that's just been sitting outside in the rain for the last, you know what I mean? Like it's just going to disintegrate and that's the end of it.
I need those old-timey Virginia Republicans to rise up because do you know what the state motto is for the state of Virginia?
No.
Sic semper tyrannis, which means kill tyrants. Because that state was like one of the older states on the East Coast that was founded on the principle of fighting back against the monarchy.
Did they vote blue or red?
I'm actually not sure. I have to look that up.
It's exhausting.
Brian, can you help fact check that?
He's on it. Okay. So they were blue this time. See? Okay. Well,
good job, Virginia.
Okay.
Yep.
Safe for now, Virginia. Good on you.
You really do hate tyrants. I love it.
They stood on business, and I appreciate that.
And speaking of tyrants, I just want to know how Elon Musk is getting away with everything that he's getting away with, because this is a man who, like, regardless of the color of his skin, has 13 children with multiple.
And that's ones that we know of.
That's the ones that we know of.
Those are the ones he's claimed.
I don't know why I thought
multiple mothers, with multiple women. And not only that, but he does not take care of those children to the point where the mothers, multiple, not just Grimes, multiple mothers, including the brand new baby that he just had with Ashley St. Sinclair, who had some really strong words for, well, we can get into that. But she's a dumbass, and she had a kid with him, and now she can't get a hold of him because he won't answer her texts, and so she has to reach out to him on Twitter, as well as the mother of his other child, Grimes, who also has to reach out to him on Twitter and say, hey, our child could have some lifelong complications if you don't answer my text messages and my calls and stuff like that.
Twitter has literally devolved into like the HR department for Elon Musk's baby mamas to like reach out to him on. That's what the app is now.
I am so disgusted by any woman who's letting him, I can't say what I want to say. But,
well, they're not. So most of them are conceived not naturally, just FYI. They're not conceived like that.
Wait, huh?
Yeah. So were they IVF?
Supposedly, Ryan is nodding at the screen too.
Wait a minute. So he doesn't even want to touch the women?
Nope. The only natural
Are you
child.
Serious?
Yes.
That tells me everything I need to know about him.
Exactly. It's everything. It's so obvious, right? And so he's basically the man who's going to make our government super efficient is not even efficient enough to take care of all of his offspring, to the point where he's so inefficient that they're having to turn to Twitter to try and get a hold of him. And I mean, it's crazy the kind of stuff that he's doing, like unchecked, like, I don't know. It just kind of begs the comparison of like when people were mad at the Obamas being in the White House, when they are literally a picture perfect, happy family, like wife, husband, and 3 children. And now you have this man with all of his like illegitimate children that he doesn't know where they're at or what they're doing or what their medical conditions are, anything like that. And nobody has criticisms for that.
There's a word for that. Guys who, what is it? The guys who just like to have babies, but they don't actually want to be fathers, like
deadbeats?
No. There's like an actual term for guys who just get off on impregnating women.
Breeding fetishists?
Like a breeding fetish.
Yeah, I think there's a name for it though. But that might something like that. Yeah, but I can't remember. That's got to be what it is. Cause what? And I'm also wondering maybe the equipment is just not up to par.
Yeah, definitely the equipment is not working. If you've seen how he's shaped, I don't know how he's even.
Is there any equipment there?
Yeah, I don't know.
Cause
I don't know.
I don't know if
I'm picturing like a Ken doll situation.
Oh my God.
Allegedly.
With a beer belly.
Oh my God.
And like
it's a beer chest. It's a beer chest.
He's barrel chested.
He's
like
not
he's shaped like a
attractive.
fridge.
I just can't. I could never sleep with him. And I also wouldn't even, the concept of my egg and his joining together would just freak me out. I don't even want to think about, oh my God.
No, I really do think he has like this dream of like repopulating the world specifically with white children.
There's a word for that and I can't think of it. Oh my God.
And his dad is the same way. And his dad went on an interview like the other week, or like somebody dug it up the other week saying that this man does not take care of his own children.
Wait, so he don't pay child support or nothing?
I think that somebody reported on the child support that he pays, and it's less than $2,000 per child.
Are you serious?
I might need to be fact checked on that.
It wasn't even about child support. It was about the child needs like medical. They need you to like, sign a paper so that the child can have like surgery. Like, I don't know. I'm speculating, but Grimes was saying that like the reasons like our child could have lifelong medical implications if you don't get back to me. So it sounds like she needs his permission for like a surgery or something. Like child support is not even like the least of his.
I wouldn't even tell anybody that that's my baby.
I would have thought she had full custody regardless, because Elon's basically publicly kind of doesn't even want to take care of his own kids. So like I thought that automatically meant like the default was the mom anyway.
No, and that's why it's like dangerous what kind of laws they're going to make around all this stuff.
I never knew he was this bad until, 2 years ago?
Yeah, none of us really knew. Because those kids, whenever Elon first kind of came into like his fame and whatnot, like those kids were like infants and there weren't that many of them.
Yeah, now there's at least one that's publicly disowned him and got emancipated from him.
Good
and
for
now,
her.
Yeah, talks shit about him on Blue Sky.
But how dare child-free women don't have kids, but y'all can populate the earth and not even care if your kids live or die. Exactly. And no one's giving him any type of backlash or outrage. But Kamala Harris doesn't have, she's a childless cat lady and she can't run this country, really.
That's why I mentioned skin color, because I'm just saying, like, even if he was just a Democrat, like, people would be making a huge fuss about family values and, about how he has all these kids out there, whatever. This is what Republicans always do. They talk such a big game about, we want to be represented by good people and family values and da-da-da. And then literally the man who is the president's right hand at this point is a philanderer. Like a literal.
And the one who's in charge of our health services too, RFK. He wrote a diary that was like based on his illicit affairs with multiple women, that when his wife read it and found out, like, she killed herself.
Is his mother proud of how he turned out? Or is she secretly like, I did a horrible
Elon's?
job? Yeah.
His mom is out here telling people to make more children.
No, I know.
Because they need to populate his factories. They need to work in his factories.
I'm wondering, is that just her saying, well, my son is rich, so my son made me rich.
Yep.
So that's all. So he can do no wrong. Or does she know deep down he's just not? I
think she's just a boy mom.
She's a boy mom. Yeah, she's 100% a boy mom. She's very proud of him.
Clearly, if he turned out the way, I guess she would clearly have to be because of how he turned out, for sure.
And his dad is actually more critical of him, if anything. But his dad is also a terrible person with the same breeding fetish. Also, he's still trying to impregnate a bunch of women in his old age.
That's gross.
I know. I don't understand. I know. I just want
it's just where we're at.
So while Grimes was like tweeting at him to try to get his attention, he was at CPAC with sunglasses on God knows how much drugs, but enough talk screen that if you were to get his blood test, it could kill a small child. And like was just rambling nonsense at the CPAC. And like, this is all from clips that I've seen online. I did not watch the whole thing. It's just funny to me because this poor woman, Grimes, and it's like, I don't fully, I guess, feel bad for her because, like, you knew what it was when you signed up to, have kids with a Nazi. Like, but yeah, so she was trying to reach out to him on Twitter and he's on there just shaking a chainsaw at people saying, I am become meme, and just spewing nonsense, can't even complete full sentences. And it's so sad and so pathetic. And, and another clip I saw, Elon walked off stage and just left his like human shield child behind. And didn't even like run over and make sure he was okay or he could get down the stairs okay. If that were a far right, mom or whatever, and she was like a political spokesperson, like let's say,
they would crucify her.
Yeah, they would crucify her. They would say, you're not a good enough mom. Like Christ would hate you. You're going to hell for leaving your child behind on that stage and all this other shit. Like the standards are just so low for fathers, even from other like Republican God-fearing men. Like that just
And it's done on purpose. I mean, that's a very conscious thing that they've done, because they know the nature of the average male, and they know that the nature of the average guy, because it takes a certain type of man to like do that work and undo patriarchy, right? They know the nature, and that's why they allow all of this. That's why everything that they do, there's some kind of an excuse. If they shoot up a school, oh, he didn't have his father in his life. Oh, he was this. Oh, people didn't pay him any attention. It's always an excuse for men. But if it's a woman, even if it's a little girl, oh, she asked for it. Oh, she was wearing this. Oh, that, it's just like no matter what you do as a woman, you're blamed. And the guys always get away with it. But it's because they know male nature. And that's why. It's just a way to accommodate the men.
Male mediocrity.
Yeah. DEI for men. I was just going to say this is a perfect segue into our main segment. So we're going to talk to y'all about decentering marriage as soon as we come back. All right, and we're back. Let's talk about decentering marriage. And I really love what you said, Sovereign, right before all of this, because I think this is like a really important caveat to make before we really dive in, because one of us, myself, namely, is married. One of us is engaged. One of us is in a relationship. And, a lot of people are going to hear us saying decenter marriage, and they're going to hear don't get married, or they're going to hear marriage is bad and evil and wrong. They're going to hear we need to decenter men by never speaking to a man or never looking at a man ever again. That is not what we're saying. That's not what we're saying. We need to realize as women, though, that the world does center around men, and that is on purpose. Just like Sovereign said, because the powers that be, which have always been men, know men's nature, they realize that certain things need to be centered around them, because women, for the most part, typically always fulfill their duty and their role to society. Whereas men need extra like bumpers on their bowling lane in order to be able to do that, right? That's why marriage was invented. That's why religion was invented. That's why the workplace works the way that it does. That's why the army works the way that it does. There's a lot of concessions made for men, and that's how men are centered in the world, in our lives. And so it's very important to understand that when we talk about decentering men or decentering marriage, we are decentering the idea that these things have to be a certain way for men and a certain way for women, right? When I talk about decentering marriage, I'm talking about centering partnership. I'm talking about centering co-creation rather than the idea of marriage. Because for a lot of people, the idea of marriage is the idea of a wedding and a happily ever after. That's not what I'm talking about. So that's my little spiel before we get into it. Does anyone else have any disclaimers about decentering marriage before we dive in?
No, I think you covered it about how like decentering marriage doesn't mean just like forgoing all relationships, period. It just means like that's not the focal point of your life. That there are other avenues to explore before you come to a conclusion, and that it was fully considered.
Definitely. Don't make getting married the end all be all of your life. That's it. Do it if you want to, but it should not be, oh, this is the most important thing that's going to define me as a woman. No, absolutely not. Because if you go into it with that mindset, you're going to end up disappointed anyways, unfortunately.
Exactly. And I just want to start this off too by reminding y'all why marriage was invented and how marriage came about. Because marriage, by its definition, was invented to create and keep and prolong the bloodlines of men. So marriage was invented to formalize the union between two people and to establish rights and obligations. So it was created to create alliances between families, which could lead to mutual support, political connections, or economic security, bind women to men. This is the number one most important thing. Marriage was used to ensure that a man's children were his biological heirs. And this is why, to this day, men try to control women's sexuality. Because men do not want to, they feel no societal obligation to provide for children that are not their own.
And even when it is their own, they still don't want to do it.
They struggle to provide. Exactly. It was also, the purpose was to expand the labor force. So marriage was a way for families to expand their labor force. And if you think that we are somehow like far from that. I just want y'all to know that this is the kind of family my dad was born into. He was birthed, as most of his siblings were, to be farm hands on his parents' farm.
Yep.
And multiple of them died in farm-related accidents when they were children, like burning down in a barn or being dragged to death by a horse, things like that. Yeah. So marriage is not this glamorous thing that Pinterest has made it seem like, has made it out to be. In its creation, it was invented essentially for business and procreation purposes, and in order to control money and lineage and land and property and things like that. So let's not over romanticize marriage too much, because this is what I'm talking about when I say DEI for men. A genius on TikTok, this woman went viral for saying that last week, that marriage is DEI for men. And I was like, that should be in the
Chef's
Smithsonian.
Kiss.
Yeah, that is such a brilliant way to put it, because that's really what it is. It was ensured that, supposed to ensure that every man gets a woman, that women can't prosper, that women can't have rights without a man, that women have no access to money, food, shelter, resources, anything like that without men. And I need y'all to know that men are hyper aware of this, even in this day and age. This is why they hold that stuff over your head. This is why they say, oh, I pay the bills, I pay the mortgage, da-da-da-da. That's why.
Even though they don't consider those resources.
Right.
And I don't want to get into like a religious thing when it comes to marriage, but I do want to point out that being added to the Bible was just a way for them to... So basically you can get somebody to do something if you say, God said you're supposed to do this.
Yep.
And the same thing with slavery and all that stuff in the Bible. Like, so because there's a lot of people that are going to hear this and think, oh no, marriage came from God. Marriage originated in the Bible or the Quran or whatever you believe. And I'm here to tell you that it's no more valid than the year that they put "In God We Trust" on the dollar bill. It was a political move. It had nothing to do with
correct
God. You know what I mean? Like it was just like a way to get, so you tell people that this was ordained by some entity and that will force people to do it. It will give you some kind of incentive. So I just wanted to point that out.
Another fun fact, the same exact thing essentially happened with Disney. So post-war, Disney, the studios, were actually paid by the government to produce romantic type films. And that was because as men were coming home from the war, women were already in the workplace and they had gotten used to working, having their own money. A bunch of women were basically turning into quote unquote spinsters, because this is what, this is why men need this type of DEI policy, right? Because women always go their own way. For most women, if they didn't have to get married, if they didn't have to have children, they wouldn't. We're seeing this now. Women have been given the choice and their answer is no, thank you.
Yep.
And so we typically need either religion or media or some other type of forced way to force women into this type of indebted servitude, essentially, to men and to children that they don't get paid to birth or raise or do all the invisible labor for. And so, Disney was one of those things. Like when the Bible didn't work, when they couldn't thump the Bible loud enough, they just went ahead and said, okay, somebody produce, let's mass manufacture consent for this idea of a happily ever after, this idea of love and marriage and a baby in a carriage and things like that.
I totally agree.
That tracks.
Yeah, women will absolutely go their own way. And that's why the way I try to connect these dots for people who don't get it is I always bring up the fact that right now they're trying to roll back women's rights because they see what women are doing now, like getting educated, starting businesses, choosing not to have kids, choosing not to get married. We're doing what we want to do with our lives. If the women from back in the day, like not too far back, but like I would say within like in the 60s or the 50s or whatever, if they had the opportunities to go their own way so they didn't have to get married and there was no stigma around you for not being chosen and they didn't have to rely on a man to survive, those women literally would not have done it. The reason why grandma stayed with granddad in most cases was because she had no other option. And so now in 2025, we're seeing what women would have done back then if they were given the opportunity, which is go their own way. Of course, there's always going to be women that, want to fall in love and all that stuff. No, I want to do this. I don't want my life to revolve around kids or revolve around a man. Even if you're in a relationship, your life should not revolve around a man. And so that's why, as Lisa was saying earlier, we can sit here in relationships and still say, hey, you are worthy whether you are in a relationship or not. Don't let society and all these men, these podcast bros and everybody tell you what your worth is because you're not shackled to some man. Like that's bullshit. But yeah, we would absolutely be going our own way, and that's what they would have done it. So now they're seeing, there's too many women that's independent now. It's too many women. They're masculine. They're getting degrees. Let's roll back their rights.
They can't bring the bottomy back.
Yeah, let's roll back their rights. So that's why now they see a lot of women, the vast majority of women are the ones filing for divorce. So now no fault divorce is back on the table. Had this been the other way around and men were like 70 or 80% of filing for divorce, this wouldn't even be a question. There would be no such thing as this conversation wouldn't even exist. But because women are holding that power by walking away, now they want to force women to stay in the house. The DEI thing, that's going to affect women. A lot. If they start turning women away from jobs, it's like, okay, well, women ain't gonna have no other choice but to find a man. Because the whole goal of patriarchy is for men to have something to do because they know male nature. They need to distract the men from their nature by, hey, get you a wife, have some kids, be a provider, be a protector. Because if you take away the law and if you leave most men to their own devices, the law, so put it this way, laws were created to govern men, not women. The reason why 100%. Laws exist is because of the nature of men.
And the proof is in the Constitution because women are not mentioned throughout the entire thing.
Absolutely.
The proof is in our crime statistics too.
Yeah.
Who's
committing the most crime?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that just goes to show you who the real problem is. And it's, of course, we're not saying every single man is a horrible person, but it just goes to male nature and how patriarchy takes over the minds of most men. Like most men fall for that. Of course, you got certain men that knows how to go their own way. And they're like, I don't want to be a bad guy. I don't want to do this. I don't want to hurt women. I don't want to hurt children. I want to protect my children. I want to protect my women. I want to protect women in general. Of course, those men exist. But the problem is they're not the majority. And so they have to create these laws and all this stuff for the majority of them because if you really think about it, you wouldn't have to enforce policies and stuff if it wasn't the majority.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? You wouldn't even have to...
You wouldn't even have the saying not all men because that statement in itself is an admission. It's an admission. You have just admitted something. When you say not all men, so you agree that it's the majority though. Right.
And that's exactly the women and men, they try to other their brother or their husband or their baby dad. Oh, my son would never do, but we're not saying it has to be all men. The problem is that it's a majority of them. That's why everything is set in place right now because it's so many of them that the numbers are concerning. It's so many that we need to be concerned. We need to create laws. We need to create policy. So that's the whole reason why the patriarchy, from where I sit, as far as I'm concerned, that's why the patriarchy was invented in the first place. Give men something to do. We can't leave them to their own devices. We know a lot of them have even admitted, unfortunately, out loud, that if they lowered the age of consent to 12, most men will be like, well, it's the law.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah. So that's the thing. So that's what I want women to understand. And so there's no reason to make any man, I don't care if he's a good man, a bad man, you need to have your own life. Yeah. You should have your own friends. You should have your own money. Y'all can share friends and y'all can share all these things too, but you should still have your own. Your life and your self-worth should not be based on if you have a man or not, if you're married or not. Because, a lot of women just end up going and file for divorce anyway, sooner or later. Did you see that video of that lady whose husband humbled her? It's been going around social media for like the last week or so. It was a black couple. And they were at their wedding reception, and he was like, "I look good. I look good. You look all right, but I look good."
Yeah. I did see that
at their wedding.
Yes.
And he was so delusional to be saying that.
He was very delusional. Somebody called him the Temu Suge Knight, which I literally lost it.
He didn't even wait till the ink was dry.
Not Suge Knight.
Temu, the Temu Suge Knight. Oh my God. The Walmart version of Temu.
I was going to say, Suge Knight's bad enough.
But yeah, I did a video about it and I just didn't post it. I probably post it tomorrow. But yeah, I'm like, and that woman, the way she rolled her eyes. She rolled her eyes at him. And that's what I paid attention to. Before he got into the whole thing about, I just want to thank my homies and I want to thank everybody except his wife. He said he loved his homies. He never said he loved his wife. It was just so cringe. And she rolled her eyes at him. And I'm like, this is supposed to be allegedly the happiest day of your life. And you're rolling your eyes at him. Like, it was just, Gwen, you would just have to see it for yourself. You're going to be like, what the hell? Like, the only thing I can gauge from videos like that was that woman just wanted to be able to say, I'm married.
I'm married. Yep.
Because there is no way. Then did you see her follow-up video?
No. Oh my God, she did a
follow-up video. Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
Defending him?
Yep.
I know.
She sure did. She said,
like clockwork.
She said nobody showed, the person who posted that video didn't show this. And so then she showed a clip of him crying at the wedding as she was walking down the aisle. We like, listen, FYI, ladies.
Yeah.
Nobody gives a damn about a man crying. I don't. That shit used to be cute when I was 16. Like, oh, he's so in love with her. Look at, he's crying as she walking down the aisle. And I'm not saying that that's not a real thing, because I'm sure it is. But don't be fooled by that. Because
watch his actual words.
I know
and his
so many guys
actions.
that cried at weddings and were cheating within 3 weeks of their wedding. You know what I mean? So like, that don't mean nothing.
Yep.
That too.
With the maid of honor.
Flirting. Yeah, flirting with, So
right at the birth of their
horror stories I've
child.
read on Reddit where the wife caught the maid of honor with her husband or her now husband at the reception or something?
That's
something crazy like that.
Yeah.
Like r/wedding dramas.
Diabolical.
So she didn't help her. She didn't help herself with that so-called response. She made it worse. Because the very fact that you tried to do damage control proves that you knew damage was done in the first place. That's how I look at it.
Yes. And so this is why we say don't center marriage, because you're going to end up looking dumb
so stupid
on the internet for everybody to see, or for your friends and family to see. You're going to look dumb. When you center these things, you're doing DEI for men. First of all, you're doing this all-inclusive, indiscriminate type thing, because you're valuing, I've seen so many women be like, yeah, but he loves me, or like, oh, but he wants to marry me. Oh, but we're already engaged. So effing what?
No.
So effing what? Would you, and lots of people would, but that's what I'm saying. It's the kind of mindset of the person that says, oh, they treat me terrible at my job. Well, why won't you leave? Oh, I've just been there so long. Okay.
Literally.
Like, I can't help you. I can't help you.
Sunk cost fallacy.
It's a sunk cost. Exactly. And it also shows like how much you value that thing, because for you to say, I would rather be miserable day to day, hour to hour, minute by minute with this person than just not be married. Like, so you're telling me this is like such an important thing to you, that you would rather be miserable 24/7 because of the person you're with than just be alone?
Basically.
That's crazy. That means it has too much of a weight or too much of a pull in your life, because you're not being reasonable or rational about what this means for you. Just to say you're married. Okay, who are you married to?
Exactly.
I know women that are married, yeah, but like happily, no.
They're married to their biggest op.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yes, they're married to someone that they could complain about every single day if you'd let them. They're married. And that's another way that that, sometimes people ask me, like, how do you know that a woman is centering men? She's always talking about a man, always complaining about a man. That means that's not going to be a good friend to you, because all you're going to hear about is how horrible her husband is and what he did this week and how disgusting he is.
Essentially their therapist at that point.
Yeah.
An unpaid therapist at that. Like the crap you got to listen to. And then when you try to give your 2 cents, it's all, you don't understand. Yeah. Because you're not married. Yeah. Or it's
I've had too many friendships like that.
Yeah.
It just gets so exhausting, and I just stop answering the phone.
Yeah, I was just finna say, because so yeah, ladies, if y'all are listening, and you have been thinking about not answering your phone when they call, you are not alone. You are not alone, and you are not a bad friend, and you're not a bad person. No, that is very draining. And I have cut off so many people because my thing is, and I remember I was talking to my sister about this a little while ago, and she's like, sometimes people don't want your input. Sometimes people just want to vent to you. And I was like, yeah, that's true, but I'm not the vent to me friend.
I'm not the one. Yeah.
I'm going to give you input.
That's what therapists are for.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. But if you come to me, I'm going to give you the real deal on what I think about it. And that's going to be that on that. Now, if you don't want my input, don't fucking call me.
Yeah, I'm solution oriented. Like, we need to get that man out of your life. If he's a parasite and he's sucking the life out of you, we need to get that thing off of you, because you're eventually going to lose your will to live. You're going to lose your life force because you're taking care of a lump like that just sits on a couch all day.
Coal. Yeah.
And it's like, these are your marital problems. And it's like, when you talk to me about them, like suddenly they become mine too, even though I didn't choose this.
Exactly.
And like, I don't want to have to live with this. And then after these phone conversations, I'm the one sitting up at night thinking about it. And then
and you going to lay down.
Wondering if I'm going to lay down, and I'm wondering if I told my friend the right advice, or if she's actually going to listen. And it's like, well, why am I the one, thinking more about these marital issues? This is not even my marriage.
No, I'm saying your friend. Your friend is going to be the woman is the one that's going to, you're sitting up stressing out about what to do. And the woman is going to go lay right down next to her husband after she complained about him for
and
the
get pregnant by him.
And
so that she has
we're
more
expecting.
Problems. Yep.
Yeah. So that's why when that happens, and I hate to say it, but I just started cutting people off. And I don't mean any harm. I don't mean anybody any hatred or anything. But what you're not going to do is drag me and drain me into your bullshit, especially if I don't see that you're doing anything to get out of it. You got to find another friend for that. I'm sorry. The life is too short. I'm not finna be sitting up here stressing more than you, because you finna go lay right back down next to him. And probably have sex with him and everything after you just dogged him to me and said he was doing this and he was hurting you, and you're crying and sniffling, and then you finna go lay down. No. And you think I'm finna be up stressing out? Those days are over. Call me when your life is in jeopardy and you're like, you need to escape, and you got you an overnight bag while he's knocked out, passed out, and you need a getaway driver. Call me then.
Same.
If it ain't that, don't call me, because I'm not, and the one thing I'm not going to do either, and I don't want women to do, is put your safety at risk.
Because that's who gets hurt. And
it's always the
go
friends.
Read the stories. It's always the friends that try to intervene.
Yep.
And many women have died like this. So I can literally, these women will threaten your life. Okay, these pick-me women that are married, and miserable every single day, and they just can't put two and two together, because there is real abuse. There is financial abuse. There is such a thing as somebody can't leave, right? But that person is not going to be coming to you day after day, having not made a plan, having not, decided to leave or whatever. Like that, at that point, you are becoming somebody that's just enabling harmful behavior, and you're putting yourself in the line of fire too. Yep. And I just think that's extremely irresponsible. And I think in this day and age, you can't be focused on marriage as the goal. You have to focus on a partnership, because especially in America, you don't have a village. You don't have a social safety net. You don't have anything. They're about to cut what little social safety net we had is about to be gone, eviscerated. So you literally cannot be out here just looking for quote unquote marriage and children and a happily ever after. You need a partner. You need an involved co-creator, which amongst men you will find very few.
Yeah, definitely.
And notice you didn't say provider. Like most women, when they hear this, they think, oh, a rich man, a rich, responsible man. Like, no, that is not an equal partner.
Nope. And they almost never will be. They're just going to throw money at you and be absent for their kids. A lot of these men, once their wives have kids, they take that as an excuse to dive into work head first, start picking up all the extra hours, being absent from their family. That is a man who's not attached to you. That's a man who's not invested in you.
Not at all.
And as soon as you stop fulfilling all the duties of a wife appliance, God forbid you get sick, God forbid you need help with the kids, he's going to dispose of you and replace you with another one. That's what the rich men, quote unquote, with money do. The provider men with money. You need a man who is, yes, willing to do that, but he also needs to understand that providing and working 40 hours a week will never compare to what you do as a wife and a mother. Because a lot of men are like, oh, okay, well, I'll bring 125K to the table. What are you going to bring? How about you making those 125K? You're likely making that because you're married. Married men make 11% more than single men. Divorced men make 9% more than single men. That's what a woman brings to the table, de facto, right off the bat. Nobody even knows who the woman is, and suddenly the man is getting paid more, 11% more on average. You got to be kidding me, right? And then you have kids for this man, which he likely didn't put money in your bank account for having those kids, for birthing those kids, for your body never being the same, etc. He probably didn't put any money in your bank account, and yet he's going to get a raise again because now he has kids. So married men with kids make more than married men without kids. That's what you're bringing to the table. And you don't get paid for any of that labor. Most men think it's enough to just provide you with a shelter and some food on the table. They're like, yeah, so now you can be my indentured servant. Now, all I have to do is work 40 hours a week. And when I come home, the house better be clean. There better be dinner. The kids better be already in bed somehow. And you better be ready to do sexual favors, whatever I want at the end of the night. That's not a partner. That's a user.
And don't ask for anything outside of shelter and roof, or roof.
Now you're a gold digger,
because now you're a gold digger.
Yeah,
you're just using him, or quote unquote riding on my income, like literally. I keep trying to tell women that the whole rich man life is not where it's at. Like it's just not. If I had to think of the worst types of men to be with, I would off the bell say rich men. They would be at the top of my list. And I've dated one, and he was actually a very decent person. However, he definitely had his ways where in the very beginning, it's like, oh, you can have this and you can have that and you can blah, blah, blah. And then after a while, it's like, I'll never forget. I remember the shoe situation. I remember he bought me some shoes. I wanted these high heels. I was a model at this time. So he got me these shoes. And then when we went back to that store, like maybe a week or two later, they had the same shoes in red, and they had them in like a nude or a tan or whatever. And I wanted those too. And he finally decided to say, kind of almost like no. What he said was, you already got a pair of those shoes. And I was like, yeah, I got them in black, but I want them in red now. And I want them in nude or tan or whatever. Yeah. And he just looked at me like, you don't even need those. I said, are you going to buy me the fucking shoes or not? No, I'm so serious.
Period.
I'm not going to argue with you about it. I want the shoes. Yeah. Are you going to get them for me or not? And he reluctantly got me the shoes. So he still got them for me. But it was just the point that you were questioning me after you presented this whole, I'll get you whatever you want. And for like months, the first like 6 or 7 months he did. We were together for almost 4 years, actually. But I hadn't worked a regular job for a while. And then I started modeling. But modeling is not like, unless you are like signed with an agency and you're just getting callbacks, and you can't, back in the day you had to go to what they call go-sees, which is like you have to go audition and whatever else. So it wasn't steady. It was just jobs here and there. So there was a time.
Sovereign is a baddie, in case y'all didn't know.
Oh, well, stop it.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. No, but so there was a time period when I wasn't actually working. So I would say about 3 months when I didn't have a regular job, but I was modeling. So, but it wasn't stable because for every 20 auditions you go to, you might get 2. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just crazy. But so I went and I got me a job at this Whole Foods as a cashier. Now, I did it out of spite. It was really out of spite. I was like, okay, well, I won't ask you for nothing else. He got me the shoes. He was like, I got you the shoes. What more do you want? I said, I said nothing. You don't have to buy me anything else. So I went and got that job. I think I was there for a couple weeks. I got my check, and we went to that same store again. And we went shopping every Saturday, like clockwork. That was just our thing, our weekend thing. We would go to Starbucks, And then we would go shopping. So this time I took we got our stuff. We were in the store for about an hour. We got to the cash register. He put his stuff up on the belt, and I put my stuff up there. But then I put a divider in between our stuff. So he's sitting there looking at me, and he turned back. He's like, "What are you doing?" No, first before he said, "What are you doing?" he took the divider, put it to the side. And when he turned around, he was like looking in his wallet or his phone or whatever. It was during the BlackBerry time. So he was looking through his BlackBerry. So while he was doing that, I picked the divider up again and I put it back in between our stuff. And then he's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "What you mean? I'm buying my stuff." And I could tell I was embarrassing him. He was starting to turn red a little bit. So I'm sitting there cracking up and on the inside. And so the lady was looking. She saw us going back and forth with the divider. So she was like, "Is this going to be all together or separate?" And we both said at the same time, "Together, separate." Right? I was like, "Separate." He's like, "Together." And he said, "It's together." So then he hurried up and paid it. And then he just kept his composure. And I was just like, "Oh my God." So we got out to the truck. He's like, "What the hell was that? What were you doing? That's embarrassing." And I was like, "You gave me shit about those shoes. Whatever, a month ago, whatever it was." And I was like, "I decided I'll give me a job. I can pay for my own stuff. I don't have to ask you for anything." That's what this is about. It's about the shoes. And when I tell you, after we had our little spat, he never did that again. But the point is that is what they do. He was actually decent about it. Most of these guys, like Elon Musk, he didn't have Elon Musk money, but he did have millions. But the Elon Musk types, they are assholes in my opinion. Those types of men,
they're the ones that'll really nickel and dime you.
They will nickel and dime you. They will berate you. They will belittle you. Because he had a boss, his boss treated his wife that way. He was cool, but I picked up on certain things. Like, you don't need this or you don't need that. He was way meaner. Like, way meaner. And he was he was a lot more rich than my boyfriend because he was his boss. So I just know those types. Those men will nickel and dime you. They will berate you. They'll tell you you're nothing. I changed your life. You will be nothing. So I already
really
know.
Good point, because yes, the patriarchy makes men like that. It makes them hierarchical.
Yep.
And so when you have a patriarchal man who's like, "Oh, I want to take care of you and I want to be the provider," and stuff like that, the flip side of that coin is exactly what Sovereign just described to y'all. The flip side of that coin is withholding, holding it over your head, threatening, berating, telling you don't need it, financial abuse, all those kinds of things. Yep. And this is why, your behavior in that situation, this is why I say women are alphas, because it's like when women agree to be provided for, okay, that's one thing. But when you start playing, with the power dynamics of that as a man, and you start forgetting what it is that a woman's presence actually is and brings to your life and stuff like that, women will be very quick to be like, "Oh, never mind, sir.
Exactly.
Never mind. We're good.
Exactly.
We're good. I'll pay for my own stuff and you find your own access to another woman. Go ahead."
Yep. And so I was I want to say maybe 23 at the time when this happened. And I don't even know, I just had the presence of mind to just play because I will play mind games with you in 2 seconds. I grew up in that environment. So all the women in my family were all about playing games with dudes because they would do it first. So it's like, you have to survive. And that's the way I survived. So luckily for me, I had the presence of mind to just play that game and see where it took me. If I would have just gave in, "Oh, okay, well, I guess I can't get the shoes," the rest of our relationship would have went very different. I know that for a fact.
Absolutely.
I know that without a shadow of a doubt. But if you can go toe to toe with them, you have to be prepared to walk away in any scenario, because he could have easily turned into an asshole, and he could have replaced me, he could have did all of that stuff, but,
And that's what we're talking about when we say decenter. Men decenter marriage, is that it cannot be your only option for survival. And when you don't do that, you just automatically give these men control over you for however long.
Also, making marriage your only goal in life just puts you in situations that you wouldn't otherwise be in, because you're just prioritizing male attention, male validation, male everything. And again, that if we know crime statistics, it would put you in situations that you wouldn't otherwise be in if you like prioritize, let's say, school or a hobby or literally anything else. Anything else. Traveling.
I know how hard that is for a lot of women to, like, when you grow up thinking your goal in life is to be a mother and to be a wife, and you have to cater to a man, and you have to know how to cook and clean, and you got to do all this stuff. It's hard to separate that from like your reality, because for many women that is their reality. So it's like, if I don't get a husband or have kids, what else am I going to do with my life? Trust me, I know how hard that is for a lot of women. But you have to start, in my opinion, I say this all the time, you have to start with, if you're single, be single for a while. Be okay with being single. While you're single, work on yourself. And your goal should not be, I'm working on myself to find my man. No. Your goal should be, I'm working on myself. And if a man comes along and he happens to be a great guy and we hit it off, great. If that doesn't happen, I'm going to be okay as well. That's the goal. That is the goal. That's really where I think women should strive. It's very hard to work on yourself and do the inner work in a relationship, in my own personal opinion. And I'm only saying that because men are a distraction. They are needy. They need you to do this.
Yes, they hate being decentered.
Yeah, this men, especially the ones online, they think decentering men is man hatred.
It's hatred,
like they think you hate them
it's
because
misandry.
Yes, misandry. Yeah. So they can't stand. So when you're in a relationship and you haven't done that inner work on yourself, the men are going to distract you. They're going to be needy. They're going to want your labor, your free labor, your body, your time, your attention, for you to be a therapist, and you're not going to have the time to really devote to yourself. That is why women tend to glow up and look better after they leave 100%. A marriage or a relationship, because when you're in it, it is literally draining the life out of you.
It's
if you are not in a healthy
relationship.
If you're not in a healthy
like
dynamic,
vampires.
it makes you look older, you're tired, you're worn out, you're haggard. And that's why when you see women and they're like 2 years or a year or 6 months or 5 years, whatever, post-divorce, post-breakup, they usually look fantastic. Their skin is glowing. Their hair is wonderful. You know, maybe not the first couple months, because women be going through the blues and their grief of losing a relationship.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly fine. And that's normal.
Processing your feelings. Yeah.
Absolutely process it. Do not try to force the feelings away, like going and doing destructive things. It is absolutely normal to grieve a loss. But afterwards, women will tell you they feel better. Think about all the things you can accomplish when you don't have a man breathing down your neck all day, telling you, I need you to do this, and you're supposed to be cooking, and you're supposed to be doing that. I'm telling you, you do this work on yourself. Do it single. And don't let anybody tell you being single is bad, because the good thing about social media is that it is changing now. Like, a lot of people are embracing single life a little bit better, or a lot better for some women. And that whole spinster, or that whole unkept over what they say in Korea, leftover women, that whole stereotype is hanging on by a thread, in my opinion. It's still there and it's still kind of powerful, but it's not nearly as powerful as it used to be. Because, you know, back in the day, you're going to die alone with your cats used to be like the worst insult to women. And now women are saying, don't threaten me with a good time. Like, you know, you ain't hurt me one bit. You know, so it is slowly dying. So that's a good thing. But don't let anybody try to make you feel you're less than if you're not in a relationship or you're not married. And if you are around family and friends that are doing that, I don't care. Y'all know me. I don't give two shits about family and friends. If you are making me uncomfortable, you're cut off.
Yeah.
I will walk away from you in 2 seconds.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't care who you are. So you don't need that negativity in your life. And like I always say, a lot of the women in those marriages are miserable anyway. So you don't need to sit up and compare yourself to these women, because half the time you don't know what's going on behind closed doors, and half the time you do. Just like that lady and that man who humbled her at that wedding. I already know what kind of marriage they got. You know what I'm saying? I've seen it. I've been on this earth long enough. I've seen that dynamic so many times. You know, that ain't nothing to be envious over. Nothing.
And I think that part of decentering men is decentering women who center men.
Oh, yeah. That's the most important part.
Preach.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most important part.
Because they'll drag you down with them if you allow them.
If you ask for their advice, they're going to give you the worst
They're
advice
going to give you
in the
pick
world.
me advice.
Yeah.
Oh, you got whatever you won't do, another woman will.
Mm-hmm.
So you better do it. I'm just using it as an
Gross.
example. That's what but for real though, that's the type of advice they're going to give
That's
you.
exactly it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he hit you, but was there blood?
But did you die?
Yeah, did you die?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think you should forgive him. You know, I mean, relationship has its ups and downs. I remember a woman got mad at me because I told her I was breaking up with her brother because he called me a bitch. And she was looking at me like, really? That's just the natural ups and downs of a relationship. I said, maybe your relationship, not mine.
That's always projection of their low standards.
Yeah, that let me know. I'm like, her husband called her all types of bitches. That's all that told me. Mm-hmm. But ain't nobody finna call me no bitch and think I'm finna just be like, oh, that's just the ups and downs of a relationship. No, it's not. No. Women who are male-centered, absolutely, I cannot be friends with women like that. I actually don't really have a lot of friends right now for that reason.
Yeah.
Like I got rid of everything. I stopped answering my phone.
I stopped, like the ick factor, when I realized I had that ick factor, what I realized was just a loss of respect in my friend after finding out like, oh, you're kind of a pick-me. Like you would pick your cockroach loving boyfriend over, me and sisterhood in general. And it's so gross to me. And I'm just like, it also shows me that you also don't respect yourself. And that's really sad. And for a while I felt guilty because I thought like, being friends would help, but it also just drug me down in the process. So it was a hard Band-Aid to rip off when I came to that conclusion.
But there's a correlation, I think. So we are taught as little girls that we have to be wives and mothers, but we're not really taught how to be friends.
Yeah.
I think it's like your sole purpose in life is wife, mother. Nobody sits you down and says, hey, this is how you, and I'm not saying nobody has ever gotten this because, there are people in your family and friends who will say, this is what a good friend does or whatever. But for the most part, there has not been a concentration on never leave your friends, always have their back. Don't break it off with your friends just because you get a boyfriend. Women just do that naturally. And I think they do it naturally because they were taught to center men. Mm-hmm. So I think that's where a lot of that comes from. Because I've never been the type of woman that would like kick my friends to the curb over a man. Because I've always had the mindset that men come and go like the seasons, but your friends should be forever. Yeah. Like that's always been my mindset. So, absolutely. I would get rid of a dude so quick. You know what I mean? Like, and you still gonna be my friend tomorrow. Like that's how I look at it. But it's so many women that are like, no, I got me a man. Mm-hmm. My man don't want me to go with y'all. Sorry. My man said I can't go on a trip. And I'm just like, what just happened? Like, and then of course the inevitable breakup is going to happen sooner or later. And when it does, then they come crawling back. Now they want to be friends again.
Community.
Yeah. And I'm at the age now where if you left me for a friend, for a dude.
We're not going to do this.
We're not going back
and forth.
No, absolutely not.
Do that.
Nope.
Because you're more likely than not, you're like an extremely emotionally, like overly attached person. And so you need somebody in your life, like whether it's a man or a woman, just to like absorb all of your emotional immaturity and like dysregulation.
And I'm not no placeholder pacifier for when you're single either.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No, I'm saying like
it's called being a fair weathered friend. That's what my mom would say.
Yep. That's exactly. No, because see, y'all will get back friends, and then they'll get them another man, and then the cycle repeats. So I'm at the age now where I'm like, if you do that, that's fine. You have every right to do that, but don't come crawling back when he cheats on you or whatever, because I don't care. Done.
Yes. And I also just want to say before we wrap up, because we should probably wrap up soon. Yeah. There is another side of this coin that I've experienced as a married, 4B adjacent content creator where women are like, you shouldn't be married. Like, how dare you, sit up here.
You're so ungrateful.
Yeah. and talk to us about, like staying away from men, but you're married. And like, oh, it's a canon event and stuff like that. And I just want to say that this is why I encourage women to seek partnership rather than marriage. Because for me, it would be a little funny for me to go ahead and get divorced from a man who contributes around the house as much as I do. So that means half the work for me.
Exactly.
Okay, this is what people don't understand.
Right.
Like,
Oh my God.
I don't want to do, like, I'm cool with it. I'm good with being married because unlike most women, I benefit from marriage. There is a way to make it work for you as a woman, and you just have to find a man who views women as human beings. And plenty of us have, because we have that filter, because we have the filter of decentering men, marriage, love, romance, etc. We're looking at men with eyes wide open. We're like, are you a good partner?
I was raised to kind of view marriage as like a business contract and make sure that it benefits you. Because like when men enter like a business contract with other businesses, they're vetting their sources very carefully.
Yep.
They're looking at the data. They're checking on their strategies. They're checking on like possible acquisitions and mergers and things like that, like how they benefit, not just monetarily, but for future beneficiaries as well, like how it's going to like prop them up either in market shares or in other ways that they can position themselves. Like it just has to benefit them, bottom line, bar none. So the way when that was explained to me by my dad and also by my mom, like that clicked for me. And that's also why my parents have been married for going on like 35 years now. Like they're still very much in love and been together for a long, long time. And just, I'm very honored and privileged that I can kind of go to them for advice should I need it. Yeah, it's just endless resources of advice and knowledge. And so if I could impart that and have that change the mindset of just one young woman out there, like that would mean the world
your
to
job.
me. Exactly. Because I'm not having kids. So y'all are my kids.
Yeah.
Yes, you need to be investing in each other. A couple that invests in each other stays together. That's the bottom line, because most marriages are both people investing in a man. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And that's why I say, like, no, I'm not going to get divorced just because some women think that decentering men in marriage means never speaking to a man again. There is a way for you to utilize a partnership in order to make your life better. Like I said, why would I give up a man who contributes to the household, a man who pays all the bills, a man who is invested in my career and supports my career? Why would I do that? That would be crazy. That would be me setting women back. Like, you know what I mean? Because I'd have to do it all by myself. And that's the kind of man I want y'all to find. I don't want y'all to just center marriage, because you should be centering a good partner and somebody who's going to invest in you as much as you as a woman are expected to invest in every man you meet. Like, seriously.
Absolutely.
Even your coworkers, your dad, your brothers, whatever, you're expected to do certain things for them as a woman. And you need to start asking for the same from men.
And to piggyback off of that, so y'all know I'm not married.
Take us home, Sovereign. Wrap it up. Yeah.
Y'all know I'm not married,
sermon.
but I am with someone now, and we haven't really talked about marriage because we have, but it's not something that we are planning because neither one of us gives a damn about getting married. Now, a lot of women are going to hear that and say, oh, he doesn't take you seriously because if he doesn't ask to marry you, not everybody wants to be married. And I've had plenty of opportunities to be married, and I just don't care about marriage. Like, it's not something that I'm jumping through hoops for. I'm not finna turn my life upside down for, I'm not changing my last night. It's so many things that I just wouldn't do.
You're
so it's
real
like,
alpha.
so it's like, I'm just not, you so fun. Stop. Stop. No, but it's so many things that I just wouldn't want to do. And it's like, okay, well, first and foremost, we would have to live together, right? That's already
a deal breaker.
That's already a deal breaker.
Some
I don't want nobody living with me.
House.
Yeah,
yes.
like, and I'm not saying it's never going to happen ever in life. But I will say it's like 99%. Like, I just don't, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't want to. And so that takes away, I'm never, I always say that I would never change my last name. I'm not intertwining my finances. Like all of the stuff that you would do if you were married, which I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that if you want to do it. But I'm just saying for me, I'm just one of those people that just like to be by myself. And being in a relationship with him doesn't feel hard. It doesn't feel like I'm swimming upstream. And I've been in relationships like that. And this one isn't. And I think, like you were saying earlier, Lisa, when you have discentered men, I'll put it this way. The best way to find a good or decent partner is to decenter them. Because you're
not looking.
Yeah, it's when you're not looking, because I definitely wasn't looking. And my mind was so made up. And when we started to talk and get to know each other, we just hit it off. And it was like, okay, he doesn't have kids. He's child free. He ain't tripping. His mom and dad are still happily married. And he's 40. He's going to be 45. They've been together that long or longer, since high school or whatever. He has a great family. So he was raised a certain way. We just mesh well. And so I'm like, well, I guess I can give this one more shot, and that's how it kind of happened. But if I was out here searching and on dating apps and desperate and whatever else and doing all these things, that's when you make, in my opinion, the most horrific choices, because a lot of women be doing this shit out of desperation. And when you do stuff out of desperation, you're going to make a trillion mistakes. Don't get me wrong. We're all going to make mistakes through our life.
That applies to anything.
We're
to
not
everything. Just talking about relationships.
It literally does apply to it. Could be a job. It could be literally anything. If you go in with a desperate mindset, you're going to end up like, how did I get myself into this situation? Because it'll be so many things that just turn your world upside down.
And the best part about marriage, especially for women, is you don't need that shit like it's a job. It's a free job. It's a job you do for free.
Oh my God.
know? So don't be in there with a desperate mindset, because it's the men that need you. You do not need the men. The men will slow you down. We have the statistics. We have the proof. The proof is in the pudding. So as a woman, you need to understand you're not doing this for you. You're not getting married for you.
You know what I'm thinking about.
Do not become free firewood. Yes.
Do not become free firewood to stoke the fire or the flames of, wait, what was it?
Of a man's success. The original purpose of marriage. The original purpose of marriage.
Is to be free firewood.
Free firewood.
Literally.
Yep.
That is like the
Light
perfect.
yourself on fire to keep him warm.
Yes.
Exactly.
that.
Perfect, Gwen.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So yeah, if a man is not benefiting you, if he's not cutting your workload in half, if he's not investing in you financially, if he is, dragging his feet on whatever, you don't need him, leave him behind. If the man is not exactly what you want, need, or looking for, like you were saying, Sovereign, some of us even, have unorthodox, or like untraditional. I don't want to say unorthodox, untraditional, views of life. Like at this point too, like you have so much that you have gotten for yourself. Like at that point, you don't want to muddle maybe all of your belongings together and stuff like that. No. Some people get married young, and so the property is common. But when you meet even just a little later on in life, you're like, okay, well, I have my house, I have my car. I don't want to, mush all this together. And now we have legal, like whatever.
Yes.
That's part of it. That's all. Like we need to untraditionalize marriage and traditionalize partnership, and like make that the new golden standard.
I completely agree with that. I love how you just put that.
Thank you. On that note, are you guys ready to dig into our mailbag?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Okay, so for this mailbag, this person says, "Hey y'all, I would love your 2 cents on the living situation I am currently in. I am almost 22, and I live with my mom, younger brother, who's 18, my mom's boyfriend, and their 2 dogs. My brother does a lot of weaponized incompetence, and I don't know what to do at this point because I feel like I've tried everything I can to fix this situation. He leaves trash out on the countertops and tables that he could easily throw away, sometimes doesn't flush the toilet. I found pubes in the shower, leaves water all around the bathroom sink, doesn't help with dogs unless I specifically ask, doesn't help with any cleaning in general, and other things I can think of right now that piss me off. I've confronted him about it many, many times, and in all other regards of life, we are close and went through a very traumatic childhood together. The main issue is that he acts like my biological dad sometimes, and my mom sees nothing wrong with it. I can call him out on it every time he says something stupid, but I don't think he cares because nothing has changed. I've confronted my mom about it, and she always defends him, or she tells me she will talk to him about it, but she never ends up doing it, no matter how many times I ask. My mom's boyfriend has been extremely helpful around the house and is actually cleaner than my mom is. I got into a car accident a couple months ago, and he did 80% of the insurance headache for me, so I didn't have to stress about it while I'm in school. He encouraged me to go get an x-ray and check for whiplash and make sure I had moderate whiplash and TMJ for dysfunction. One time, their self-cleaning vacuum spread their dog's shit all over my mom's office. He paid and organized for a vacuum company to come to deep clean the carpet and fix the Roomba. However, the red flags I have noticed about my mom's boyfriend is that he moved into her house and he makes a lot of jokes about my mom. I don't know whether to label it negging or not. I'm still being extremely cautious around him because he's only been here for a month. My gut tells me he's safe, but I don't know. There are a lot of pros and cons to staying here or moving out ASAP. Hopefully I give you enough context for this, but I didn't want to make this too long. What is your advice on my situation?
This is why we warn y'all about men so much. Because they can do this stuff with no consequences.
Yep.
This is why we say decenter men and focus on yourself. Because men will do stuff like this when they know you have no choice but to share living quarters with them. What your brother's doing is horrible. And he knows it's wrong. He just knows he doesn't have to fix it. He knows the patriarchy's on his side. He knows society's on his side. He knows that his biological dad got away with it. And that's all. He knows he doesn't really have to change. And this is going to be somebody's husband one day, presumably. This is why we tell y'all don't center marriage. Because this is going to be the center of your world.
I was going to say, if it's an option to move out, I would start making those steps because
absolutely,
it's not on you. It's not on you to weigh the pros and cons of, or like make the decision if your stepfather or your mom's boyfriend like is a safe person or not. Like that should have been her job to decide for you before she had him move in to your space where you live. Like that's up to her to have that vetting process, not you. So that's putting a lot of unnecessary emotional labor on the daughter. Like that's so sad, and I'm sorry you've had to deal with that. But if it's an option to try to move out safely, like I would start making those steps to do so. Because you can't fix your brother. The only way you would be able to do that is if he wanted to do that in the first place and he was looking for some blind spots. If he asked you earnestly, like, oh, what can I do around the house to like help you or like become a better person or a better human being, then it just has to be in them. Like there's no way you can like force it in. Like you can lead a horse to water situation, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And
like,
just imagine how much more you could invest in yourself if you were not busy picking up all the pubes in the shower, you know? Like that is ridiculous. Like, I don't know, you could be living. I know that there's pros to like living with family and like as far as saving money and stuff like that, but time is money too. You can't forget that. Time is money. Peace is money. Yes, exactly. A clean, stressless living environment is as good as money, because what that's gonna because what that's gonna do is allow you to open up your mind in a way that's going to allow you to see what you can fix about your life rather than worrying about your brother's, you know, water all around the bathroom sink or like his unflushed toilet. You'll be able to focus on bigger and better things, right?
My advice, I'll just say what I would do if it were me. I would be working, saving up money to find me a place, and I wouldn't tell anybody what I was planning on doing. They would just look up, and I'll be like, oh, by the way, I'm moving into my apartment tomorrow or today or whatever. And that's that on that. And the reason why I say that is because in situations like this, your mom may not be bothered by it right now because you're cleaning up. If you move out and she's stuck having to deal with that, then she'll understand. But by that time, you'll hopefully have your own apartment and you'll be at peace. And for the love of all things holy, don't let your brother or anybody live with you. Because oh my God, it will be a hellscape
situation.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my God, I'm telling you. You have to legally put people out, and you know it's a whole hassle. Trust me, I have been there, done that. I moved out my mom's house for the first time when I was 17, and I got lucky because a friend of the family was a landlord and she had a bunch of houses and she rented one to me at the age of 17. So technically it wasn't legal.
Wow.
But, you know, when you know people, that's, you know, that goes back to it's not what you know, it's who you know. So yeah, when I was able to get the hell out of my mom's house, I got the hell out. And I was literally 17. But being 20, what'd she say, 23, 22? You're gonna have
22.
to move out on your own sooner or later anyway. If you,
you're gonna
if you want to, you're gonna want to. Let this be your motivation. Let this be the thing that drives you to work a few more hours a week at work, or save your money and don't splurge. You know what I mean? Like use this as your greatest motivation. You may not be able, I don't know what your situation is. You may not be able to move out like within the next few months, or maybe it might take a year or so. But just think about: do you want to be in the same position at the same time next year? If not, start working on your plan right now, and don't tell everybody what you're planning, because people may, I'm not saying your family would, but people do try to sabotage you and stuff.
I think they would.
They probably would. And that's why I'm saying don't say nothing.
Yeah, my 2 cents on your mom is that if she's letting your brother get away with behavior like that, her boyfriend or whatever might be a good guy, but I wouldn't put that on her. Does that make sense? Like, I don't trust her picker.
Exactly.
Because if she's, a boy mom, as you've described, then she's probably okay with centering men. And the reason that she's not calling this man out, this man sounds like he's probably love bombing y'all.
I was just gonna say that.
And she's not calling him out on the nagging, which he's started to exhibit. Some of the early signs of somebody who's love bombing and controlling is they start to make nagging jokes.
It's only been a month too. That is such a bad.
And he's moved in with y'all.
Yeah,
a month
Red
and they've already
flag.
moved in. Yeah,
Red
yeah.
flag.
I would be working on my plan, and don't tell nobody what you're doing. That's what I would do. I move in silence like that anyway.
Yeah,
No, I really do. Like,
no, it's true. You should do that in all aspects of life, for sure.
I don't really tell people. When I was in nursing school, when we got our acceptance letters into nursing, I was the only person that didn't post my letter on social media. I was the only person. And I was excited. I just didn't want to tell people.
When I graduated from community college, I didn't put anything out there on social media that's what happened. Like, it was like my closest friends knew, and my family, of course, and that was that. Like, I never posted it on social media because down here in Texas, we have something called El Ojo, which is like the evil eye.
No.
And it's like a very real thing where it's like the person kind of can just cast this like negativity on you, and then you just experience that in your life just because you bragged about your accomplishments or you told somebody, now they wished ill on you, and then
they're just wishing for your downfall. And sometimes it's not even just a wish. Sometimes people would actually do things.
Yeah, they'll sabotage you. Yeah. Seriously. And like, when you're young, you don't expect that. But trust me, like, it sucks. Your own family will do it. Absolutely will do it. And you won't know any better because they will have you so brainwashed.
And the main person that may do it would be probably your mom.
You're your mom. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Because
women...
They see you, if she see you wanting to move out and you're I'm just assuming you're the one who cleans up, you're probably the one who cooks. I don't know. If you're doing all this stuff and your brother isn't, she's gonna be like, where do you think you going? You know, maybe she want, some mothers will want you to go when they got them a man, but some may want you.
It sounds like you're contributing a lot of labor.
That's what it sounds like. And that's why.
Thrilled.
Yeah, and she might not be thrilled about you leaving. That's why I wouldn't say nothing. But you're 22. I'm pretty sure you don't want to be there for another, when you're 25, 24. Right. So just start on your plan now. You really will.
More fun, and it'll give you a sense of like independence. You got to start your credit, all that. Like, you got to get out of there. It's going to be better for you.
And even if you need to go to college or something to get away, a lot of people do that as well and have Pell Grants. There's Pell Grants that you don't have to pay back that can help you go to school.
There's scholarships.
Yeah.
And if you apply through the schools, you have more of a chance of getting that scholarship.
Oh, yeah.
There's less competition.
Absolutely. I was going to say that too. And then if your grades are good, there's the schools most typically will give you scholarships just based on merit, just because you're a student there. So there's definitely ways to get out. A lot of people go to college and, stay in the dorms and stuff just to get away from home. Like, that's the number one reason. And then while you're there, you can be just working on your future, figuring out what you want to do, But
absolutely,
I can't stand centering yourself.
Perfect. Thank you for saying that.
Yes, we brought it full circle. Good job, everyone. We're rooting for you, babe. You got this.
One last thing, just one thing. But if you want to be petty, like a week before you move out, weaponize their incompetence back on them. Like, stop picking up.
Yep.
Everything. anything. And even if it like has you living in complete squalor core, embrace that shit. If it's just like
it doesn't matter. You're going to leave.
Just go to your room where it's clean and you don't have
Mm-hmm.
to face all the other crap out there.
Go to a friend's house to go use their facilities if need be.
Right.
Yep.
Good luck to you.
Yeah, good luck. You
Good
got
luck.
this. All right, let's wrap up our episode with our poll results from Patreon and from Spotify. So the question was, if you've been in a relationship with a man addicted to porn, looking back, what was the first red flag you noticed that something was off? And the options were he was withdrawn or easily irritated, his online activity was suspect, his views on women felt off, or his behavior in public was disrespectful. And the biggest winner for the Patreon poll was his views on women felt off. So like sex work, aging, catcalling, that was how the girlies on the Patreon could tell. And as far as Spotify, we had checked out other women, which kind of goes hand in hand, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, cause stay away from these men for sure. If somebody does not feel, any type of way about checking out other women right in front of you,
that's embarrassing anyway.
That's embarrassing.
I would literally get up and just go to the bathroom and you'll never to be seen or heard from again.
Yeah. That type of disrespect should offend the hell out of you.
Yes, for sure.
God.
But
that's the worst type of disrespect. Oh my God.
No, it seriously is disgusting and it's just embarrassing, and it should be more embarrassing to the men, but for some reason it's embarrassing to the women, but it shouldn't be. That's embarrassing for him. He has porn brain. His brain is rotting away in his skull. It's like mush at this point, perfectly smooth and
Stop.
Thoughts and ideas just slide right off. That's why you
Slide
can
right
have
off.
intelligent
Exactly.
conversations with these men. Like it's just one brain cell. It's bouncing around in there, and all it's thinking about is like big booty Latinas or Wednesday dinner, fried chicken wings. Yeah, let's go to Hooters. Oh, Hooters is bankrupt now.
Yeah,
you're making me think of that the guy on the X-Men movie. He was like a senator or something, but his power was that he could turn into water, like a big blob of water or something. I can't. That's just for whatever reason. That's what just made me think about what's in their brain. It's just like this big water
sloshing.
Balloon. Like
that one Family Guy episode of that brain cartoon where he's going. Nah, 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 nah.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
That's their brain.
I missed that show. I should start back watching it.
Oh, do we have a recommendation?
Oh, I got the book that I haven't started reading yet. Why Does He Do That?
Yes.
By,
okay, I think we have recommended that.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yeah.
I just got it last over the weekend.
I'm so excited for you to read it and like the videos
I can't wait
you're going to
read
make, because he really breaks it down.
I can't wait to read it.
My recommendation then would be, I've been reading this book called Nervous by Jen Soriano, and it's all about the nervous system. It's a collection of essays on just nervous system, like trauma and healing, and how that gets passed down, especially if you have ancestral trauma, which has been really, really fascinating to me, because this is unbeknownst to a lot of people, but there is a lot of trauma in Ukraine. Like my people have never been like left alone to their own devices, except for the brief like 20 years that we had before Russia invaded again a couple of years ago. But yeah, we've basically have been starved and killed and all sorts of things since the dawn of time, it seems like. And so that's been, especially if you come from a culture that has been oppressed a lot and has been through a lot of war and trauma, it's a really great read. Like I wasn't expecting it to be, but it really, you can kind of feel you can feel it making sense in your body, if that makes sense. So definitely check it out. She's a local author for me. She's from Seattle. So
sounds interesting.
I just picked it up based on that, but it was really good.
Whenever I hear the nervous system, I just automatically think of fight or flight. It's like the first thing that comes to mind for some reason. I don't know why.
That was done on men. So fight or flight was for male reaction to like fear. Yeah. But for women, it's freeze or fawn. Yeah. So like freezing in place, like you're frozen in fear. Mm-hmm. And then there's the fawning response where it's like people pleasing, because it's like when a man just keeps badgering you for your phone number and you're scared that if you reject him because he's giving you those vibes that like he's going to punch a hole in the wall or like punch you or God forbid anything else. So you just like give him a fake number or you give him a number.
So true.
just to kind of, that's the fawning response.
That's so true.
All that and more in that book. So
You're making me think about how many times I've fawned in my life. Fawned.
Yes. No, probably a lot. For women, it's definitely a lot. We should talk about that sometime. We should make that its own episode. All right, ladies, always a pleasure talking to you. Shout out to all of our listeners. We love you, and we'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.